Hey and welcome to the Daily Arsenal News Show. Let's begin with our daily news. Aston Villa could launch big bid to sign immense Arsenal player this summer. Aston Villa could make a big bid to sign Kieran Tierney from Arsenal this summer. That is according to Goal, who note that the Scot could be on his way out of the Emirates come the end of the season. The left back has lost his place in the Gunners' starting 11 this term after the arrival of Zinchenko from Manchester City, and now he could be set for another move within the Premier League. Newcastle have been credited with an interest, as have Aston Villa, and it's thought that either club could make a big bid this summer. Of course, a move to Villa Park would be logical for Tierney. After all, he knows Unai Emery very well from his time at Arsenal, and he was a player the Spaniard always valued very highly in that period. That being said, a move to St James Park could also be appealing as the Magpies look increasingly likely to be playing Champions League football next season, while the Villains are slipping out of the race for a European spot. Factor in that Alex Moreno has also been a star for Villa so far, and you could say that a move to Newcastle would make more sense. Regardless, Tierney look increasingly unlikely to be an Arsenal player next season. He is a very valuable asset, and the Gunners will want to raise funds before adding to their squad ahead of a Champions League campaign next term. It's a real shame that Tierney will have to leave Arsenal. After all, he is an immense player, but sometimes that's just the way the cookie crumbles, and a top player has to leave a top club when they are no longer needed. Arsenal desperate to stop midfielder from joining Manchester City in the near future. Ethan Nwaneri is a name many football fans would not have heard of before this season, but the youngster is now in the sights of Manchester City as the Premier League champions look to lure the midfielder away from their rivals. Earlier this season, the 16-year-old became the youngest ever player to play in the Premier League when he came off the bench against Brentford at just 15 years and 181 days old. That put Nwaneri's name on the map, and now Man City are looking to lure the youngster to the Etihad as the Manchester club are in the market to sign some of England's and Europe's best young talent, report Football Insider. City are said to be growing in confidence over signing the Arsenal man, but it's said that the Gunners are doing all they can to prevent it from happening. No deal has been finalized yet, but if an exit were to come to fruition, Arsenal would be due a compensation package for his training and education, as the youngster is yet to pen his first professional contract. Nwaneri can only sign a professional terms when he turns 17 in March 2024. This would be a big blow for the North London club should they lose one of their brightest talent to a Premier League rival, but there is some time before any deal is finalized. £25 million player says Arsenal forced him out, they didn't want him anymore. Joe Willock was absolutely gutted when he had to leave Arsenal back in 2021. The midfielder headed to Newcastle United off the back of a successful loan spell at James Park in 2021, but at the time he wasn't too sure about the move. Speaking to The Telegraph, Willock has shared how he was told he was no longer needed at Arsenal and how his move to Newcastle came out. Indeed, the midfielder says that he really wasn't sure about heading to Tynyside, while he claims that it was actually painful when he was told by Arsenal that he was no longer needed at the Emirates, stating that he initially didn't want to leave the Gunners, but he was forced to go. Willock shared how he felt about his £25 million move to Newcastle. He said, when the talk of a permanent move started, I wasn't sure, you know. The fans probably made that decision easier, but also Steve Bruce. He really fought to bring me here. He was great for me. We had loads of conversations on the phone that summer. I wasn't valued at Arsenal. That became clear. When I had a meeting with them, it was obvious they wanted me to go. Yeah, it hurt. I would probably have drifted for another year had I stayed. I'd been there since I was 4.5 years old. I'd given my life to Arsenal. At that meeting, it just felt like my time was up. I didn't feel valued anymore, and that was it. I was going to sign for Newcastle after that. Arsenal forced Willock out of the club back in 2021, but you can bet your bottom dollar that they are now regretting that decision. Willock would have been brilliant in this Arsenal team as competition for Granit Xhaka. He is now showing his class at Newcastle, and he looks like just the player Arsenal need. If Willock was coming through at one of the smaller clubs right now, Arsenal would certainly be looking at signing him, but instead they sold him to a club that is now proving to be one of their biggest rivals. The Gunners certainly dropped the ball on this one. Arsenal have kept tabs on a player Tottenham sold for just £12 million. Arsenal are reportedly keeping tabs on Kyle Walker-Peters, the right back who used to play for Tottenham Hotspur, before they sold him back in 2020. The Gunners are expected to be very active this summer. Central midfield is the priority, while a new centre back, right winger, and also a fullback are needed to bolster their squad. Walker-Peters Southampton are on the brink of relegation now, and he is likely to be on the move this summer. He is on Arsenal's radar, according to The Athletic. Kyle Walker-Peters came through the ranks at Tottenham Hotspur and played 24 times for their first team. The defender was always viewed as an exciting talent, but Spurs decided to let him go in the summer of 2020, and Southampton snapped him up for just £12 million. Walker-Peters has developed brilliantly at the St. Mary's. He is a fantastic player now, and it's almost certain that he will leave Southampton for a bigger club in the coming months. The report claims that Manchester United and especially Arsenal have kept tabs on the Saints defender since last summer, and he has been suggested as a good option for the Gunners for next season. Walker-Peters will enter the final 2 years of his contract in July. Ahead of what is expected to be a busy transfer window, the report claims that Kyle Walker-Peters has changed his agent, with CAA Stellar now representing him. That is the same agency that represents Tottenham stars like Son Heung-min, Richarlison, and Pedro Porro. Even Dele Alli is represented by the same agency, as is Arsenal midfielder Mohamed El-Neni. Walker-Peters will likely be a wanted man this summer, and it will be interesting to see if Arsenal will make a move to sign him before the start of next season. Free agent about to decide on his future after claims Arsenal want him. Journalist Fabrizio Romano has reported that Arsenal target Mahmoud Dawood will be leaving Borussia Dortmund at the end of the season. Arsenal have been linked to Dawood for a while now, and this is a huge update in their pursuit of the midfielder. The 27-year-old's contract expires in the summer. Romano tweeted, Mahmoud Dawood will make a decision on his future club soon. Premier League clubs approached him over a free deal and looks most likely destination, while there is interest also from Serie A. Dawood will leave Borussia Dortmund as a free agent in the next few weeks. With such a top player available on a free transfer, it would be no shock to see many clubs start to put in contract offers for the Germany international. The Gunners have looked good in central midfield this season. Despite this, adding another player of a great quality like Dawood would be a great option. The German has proven he can defend and attack at Borussia Dortmund, and this is a great asset for any club to have. Arsenal should definitely look to pick Dawood up on a free transfer. It's practically a big bargain to be able to not have to pay direct money to a club for the player. The great footballer is on around £66,000 a week at Dortmund. With other clubs circling for the midfielder, the Gunners may have to pay a little bit more, but it shouldn't be a massive amount. Arsenal will also be competing in the Champions League for the first time since the season 16-17. A lot of players at Arsenal are quite young, therefore it would be great to get someone in like Dawood, as he has experience in this competition. Simon Jordan is stunned by how much a frightening Arsenal target could cost. Pundit Simon Jordan believes Arsenal transfer target Declan Rice is not worth the £100 million price tag that West Ham are placing on the midfielder. Arsenal are now seen as one of the top teams in the division, After battling Manchester City for the Premier League title, the club are looking to bolster their options, and Rice is one of their top targets. The West Ham star currently has a price tag of £120 million or £100 million if other clubs can offer a player as well via Sky Sport. This price tag has led many to discuss the midfielder, including pundit Simon Jordan, and he is not pleased with this figure. The frightening England international is highly rated by many. He is a standout player and definitely deserves to be playing for a team in Europe. Despite this, Jordan does not believe he is worth £100 million. Speaking on Talksport, Jordan said, "This argument rages. I have mentioned it a number of times about the difficulty I have with suggesting that he is worth £100 million. Of course, he is a great central midfielder. Of course, he's got bags of potential. I find it difficult to see. Personally, I think it's the price tag, not a £100 million player." The 24-year-old is an amazing defensive midfielder who can also contribute with a few goals. He is integral to West Ham, so you can see why they want a lot of money for him. It would most definitely take them a couple of signings to replace him. Arsenal do have this sort of money, but they need to decide if they can still buy other players as well as Rice if they spend this much. With the injuries they have this season, Arsenal have shown that they need to buy a few players in order to make sure they can battle in all competitions. One of the best finishers in Europe expected to move amid Arsenal links. Arsenal have been heavily linked with Bayer Leverkusen's Moussa Diaby in recent months. Back in January, Sport 1 journalist Patrick Berger claimed the Gunners had held preliminary talks with his club. Now, with the transfer window on the horizon, speculation involving the Arsenal target has intensified. A month ago, Bild reported that Arsenal are among the favourites for Diaby's signature. That article said the Gunners have been keeping in touch with the player about a potential move. French football expert Jonathan Johnson has now given his verdict on Diaby's future. Speaking to Count Offside, he reckons the likes of Arsenal could potentially land him for £50 million. However, the Gunners could also face competition from high-flying Newcastle United this summer. The journalist said, "I do think his kind of talent and consistency that we have seen from him in the Bundesliga in the last few years would justify a fee in the region of £50 million, so clubs would do well to get him for something around that figure." The expectation is that Diaby will now get a move to a big European club, and there is a lot of interest from the Premier League, not just from Arsenal, but from Newcastle United as well. He is definitely one to watch, and it has the potential to be a good few months ahead for him if he can guide Leverkusen to the Europa League final and then get a big move. Diaby is an absolutely outstanding player who boasts plenty of qualities, including amazing pace and dribbling. He has been deemed one of the brightest forwards in Europe and a potential next superstar for France. Likewise, scouting outlet Breaking the Lines has deemed him one of the best finishers in Europe. This season, Diaby has registered an impressive 14 goals and 11 assists from 43 club appearances. Both Arsenal and Newcastle will surely fancy their chances of bringing him to the Premier League this summer. The Gunners will definitely be in the Champions League next season, while the Magpies are still in with a shot. Both will need to strengthen their ranks to ensure they can remain competitive on all fronts, and Diaby is the kind of player who would be a fine addition to the best clubs in the game. I will be uploading daily Arsenal news, so keep your eyes on the channel and don't forget to like and subscribe. I appreciate your support. Peace out.